Alright, it's the 26th of December, so Boxing Day up in Canada, and I figured I'd check on storage on the way back from my parents since it's kind of on the way. So we're just out checking on the old Pathfinder, and this is usually my winter vehicle, and it's been sitting up in storage for a while now. Since I've got the new F-150, the Pathfinder is not getting too much use, so battery's dead, so we're just going to take the battery out and take that home and get it charged up. I think the old Pathfinder is going to be put up for sale shortly, since it's better to go for sale and somebody can get some use out of it rather than sitting up here. Tires are even sort of going a little bit flat on it, so we're going to have to get those pumped up and get this moved out of here. So that's one of the tasks for today. The other task is we'll just check on the cars that are inside and make sure they're doing well as far as storage is concerned. I think the top of my TR6 is actually still down. I never had a chance to put it up. It's under cover, I believe, but the top is still down, so we'll probably end up going ahead and putting that up. Alright, back in a bit. Alright, we made her into storage, and everything's looking pretty good in here. It's looking pretty dry. It's actually not even too cold in here. As I'd mentioned earlier, it's not being too cold of a winter so far this year. So anyway, the top is down on the TR6. So that's all we're going to do today is put the top up on the TR6. Hopefully it won't be too difficult. It's a little more difficult to put the top on these cars when they're cold. They get pretty tight, so hopefully that won't be too much of an issue. Anyway, TR8's over there. The Alpha's there amongst the others. The TR4 unfortunately is still outside, as we don't have storage inside unless we wanted to really tighten these cars up and not be able to walk between them. We probably could get a TR4 in here, but we don't necessarily want to do that. That car needs to be restored anyway, so it will sleep outside until we get to it, time to get to it. Anyway, we'll get to putting the top up, and we'll be on our way. Alright, top is up on the TR6. That was the main objective for today's visit. I didn't get the 3 snaps of the back done up. The top is pretty tight, having been down since I got back from, I can't even remember the last time I drove it, but the top's been down and it's pretty cold in here. I've got the furnace on in here. Actually, Les has installed a furnace in here, which makes it a little bit more comfortable. If you're up here for a period of time, we can always crank the furnace on for a little bit. So anyway, I'm not going to wait for it to get warm enough to snap those rear snaps, so we'll just leave them for now. It's better than leaving the top down all winter. So anyway, we'll cover her back up. We'll put anything that's not mouse proof into the car to take it home, and we'll see these beauties out in a few months, a few quick months hopefully. Alright, see you in a bit. Alright, we decided to come out to the garage. It's 8:45 in the PM, but we're getting tired of sitting on the couch and we're trying to get back into the swing of things. So I figured we'd come out tonight. We got to crank the heater on. It's a little chilly out here. It's about 5 degrees Celsius, but not too bad. So I think what we'll start to do is we'll start to clean the garage. As I mentioned before, it's a pretty bad state out here, so we'll get things organized for our first session back, let's say. I know Alina is coming up on the 29th to give me a hand with the red fenders, as mentioned previously. So we want to get the garage cleaned up and organized as best we can before we start tearing things apart. So we'll go ahead and work on that tonight, and like I said, we'll be a little bit more productive than sitting on the couch. Alright guys, Friday, December 28th, just past 8 a.m. and I decided that I'm not going to work today. Nobody else was at work yesterday, so I figured, why should I be working when nobody else is there? So I'm taking a vacation day today. Anyway, we're going to continue with our garage cleaning. We did get most of the tools put away the other day and organize things a little bit. So we're at the getting rid of dust day. So we've got to sweep the floor and blow this garage out as best as we can. Again, tomorrow we're supposed to be getting a visit from Alin and Nick. We're going to play around with the red fenders tomorrow, so I want to get the garage as clean as possible and as organized as possible for that visit. So that's what we're up to this morning. Pretty nice day outside. It's raining, but it's darn warm out. It's about 8 degrees Celsius. It's actually warmer outside than it is in the garage. And we've got the heater cranked on out here, so hopefully that'll get a little warmer out here. And we'll continue on with our cleaning duties. Alright, we'll see you in a bit. Alright, we're making good progress on the garage. It's definitely looking cleaner out here. And we did take a break and we went and filled up our MIG gas tank, our backup tank. so we won't run out of gas. I got an extra spool of wire there, so we're good for the weekend. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually organize my tool chests. They're getting pretty ratty looking inside. So I think what I'll do is I'll pop up one of the folding tables, and we'll sort of lay everything out that I've got in my toolbox, and we'll get those cleaned out and looking a little bit more organized than they are currently. I've got stuff piled up on top that I don't like looking at anymore. So we'll go ahead and do a bit of a clean out of the boxes and a reorg, and we'll put everything back where it should be. Alright guys, just a quick update just after 9 p.m. and we've been working on the garage on and off all day. So it's looking better out here. It's looking a little bit more organized and a little cleaner. And we did spend quite a bit of time on organizing our toolbox. So that's looking pretty good. It's been needed for the past while, actually, probably for the past year or so. It's needed to be gone through and organized. So that probably took quite a few hours to go through this and organize it to a point that I was happy with. So I don't know how long it'll stay like this, but anyway, it's good for now. So we will put those tools to good use tomorrow when we get out here and work on these fenders. So that's it for tonight. We'll definitely get out in the garage tomorrow. Like I'd mentioned, Alin is coming up with his son Nick, so we're going to spend pretty much most of the day out here and try to get to the bottom of what's happening with the fender, particularly on the passenger side. And I've got the bolts all sorted out for the doors. They're going to have to go on basically as the first check. I'm going to see how the doors fit with that fender. I'm sure it doesn't fit at all. If I recall, the bottom of the fender actually interferes with the door, so the door can't even shut. So anyway, we'll see what's going on with that as our probably our first course of action, and then we'll probably do some measurements here and there as well and see where we need to make adjustments and what we need to do to make this fit. It's way off, as you can see. So we'll play around with it tomorrow and see if we can make it any better. Definitely can't make it any worse. So that's it for tonight, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early. And probably do a little cooking video tomorrow too. Since I've got Alin coming for lunch, I may as well do a little cooking video for lunch and make a few things that he'll be happy with. Alright, we'll see you tomorrow. Alright guys, Saturday, December the 29th and just past 10 a.m. and we're just waiting for Alin and Nick to show up. So we just came out and we cranked the heat up. It's about 10 degrees Celsius in the garage, so it's not too uncomfortable. We'll get a little bit warmer to work out here for the next few hours. Anyway, we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, look who showed up.
Hey.
Trouble.
Is it 2019 already? I just said this morning in my video that I was going to see them in 2019.
But you told them that you were coming here.
You ruined the surprise now.
I watched your video today. I watched it this morning, yeah. Very good.
I haven't uploaded it yet and you already watched it?
Well, I didn't comment on it.
Because you weren't first.
You know, you say, you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Anyway, so we're going to tackle these, or we're going to take a look at figuring out what's going on with this fender today anyway, and see if we can get to the bottom of it. So what we're going to do first, I think, is we're going to dig out the doors, and as I mentioned last night, I've got all the hardware for the doors here ready to go. So I think what we'll do is we'll probably just tap those the hinges out, because I think some of them might be a little bit cross-threaded. So we'll just tap those out and then we'll put the doors on. I think in order to get the door on this side, I need to remove the fender, or at least I don't think the door will shut with the fender on. So we'll see what it looks like once we get the doors on. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that first, right? Sure. Okay, so here's our dilemma on the passenger side. You can see we absolutely have no gap whatsoever as far as the fender is concerned to the door, and we still have that ugly stick out problem at the bottom. So that's the problem on the passenger side. And again, we have the length issue as well to contend with, but we're not so concerned about that. From a driver's side perspective, it actually looks not bad. So that looks pretty good body line wise. And the gap's not bad when we actually fix the fender where it needs to be. So we're not so concerned about the driver's side, but the passenger side is definitely a bit of a puzzler. when they put the other sill in, obviously they did some funky stuff. It actually doesn't line up too bad on the bottom of the door, but we think the sill needs to have a bit more of a stick out on this side.
Come out,
Definitely needs to come out.
It is almost straight with the door, which on TR6 you have a half-inch step here going in and then out, just like the same line. You need to have the door matches this panel and then the sill matches this, and it's further in.
Anyway, so we're just trying to figure out a method to correct this. So I just thought I'd give you a quick look of it with the door installed and the fender installed. And we'll come back once we figure out what we're going to do. So we spent about an hour out here sort of puzzling over this and how bad it is and how wrong it is in many directions, whether it's the bottom or the top. I think we have a problem with the top as well. So we're trying to figure out how to fix it. You know, whether we should just take the sill out entirely, whether we should try to modify the existing sill. We're trying to figure out how to move this top of the B post up, because the fender kind of looks like it needs to come up quite a bit. Basically, let me wander around the other side here. So it looks like the top of the B post on the actual body tub needs to be modified as well. You can see,
1/4 inch lower.
Yeah.
And even the measurement from the floor to here is quarter inch less than the other side. So basically this somehow got dropped when the bottom of the B post was rotten. So if we bring this fender up, it's going to help us with the fitment on the bottom of the fender. And then obviously we still have an issue with the sill, because the sill was put in incorrectly. It's too far in as well, so it really needs to come out. So we were thinking of slicing across the top somehow and bringing the sill out, sort of bringing that out a little bit, because it doesn't even match. It doesn't match the contour of the bottom of the door very well as the driver's side does. So anyway, we're still trying to puzzle our way through it. We still have an issue with the door gap, but Ellen thinks that we might be able to shim the body to bring that gap open a little bit more. I can't really bring the door anymore forward because it's already contacting the A post here at the top unless we make some clearance here. And again, we haven't fit the fender to check the front door fitment with the front fender, so we'll probably have to do that at some point too if we start playing around with the door a little bit. So it's definitely a puzzler, right? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So we had our stools out here. These are our thinking stools. So we've sat in our stools and had a look. It doesn't get any better from down here, trust me. So anyway, we're still trying to puzzle our way through it. We do have the new sill, as mentioned here. We have a new inner and outer sill if required. We haven't got that far to decide whether we want to cut it out or not yet, or whether we want to modify what we have. So definitely a puzzler. Okay, we're probably in the, I don't know, third hour of being out here and puzzling through this. So we've got the door and fender fitment not too bad now, and we've got the sill. We played around with the hinge point locations on the A post to get the door to go in a little bit. So we've got the sill actually fitting a little bit better, and the actual fender fitting to the bottom of the sill at the front fitting pretty good. So we decided that we'd go and grab the Surrey top, because we think part of the problem, or the major problem, is this area here at the top is way low, so it needs to come up. And you can sort of see that once you sit the Surrey top on the car, how off it is. If I look at the driver's side, and we could sort of see that when we fitted the rear fender as well, that it was very, very low at the front of the B post on the passenger side. Because the fender, you know, when you put the fender on, you could see actually how high the fender needed to be to get it to fit to the sill at the bottom. So you can see how the Surrey should fit on this side. So that actually looks pretty good. But as you go around the car, you can see it sort of being quite high because this panel here is so low. And then there you can see where the issue lies. It's in this panel structure here, which is all screwed up. You can see we've raised the door up to where we think it should be. So you basically, what is that, about a 1/4 inch?
Yeah.
Between this panel and the top of the door. And if we put the fender on, the fender really needs to go up sort of, you know, up probably around there to meet the top of the door. Obviously we,
Matches
yeah.
here. all the way to here, it matches perfectly, but then from here, this panel goes down.
Yeah, so this panel is completely whacked. So we're going to try to play around with fixing this panel, which will in turn fix the bottom of our sill problem, because it's going to bring the fender up and it's going to match the bottom of the sill a little bit better. And it's going to fix our Surrey top issue. So we've got a lot of work to do in this area, but I think we've decided that that's where the major issue lies in this car, is that top sail panel. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to play around with that a little bit and do a little bit more investigation. So we made our first cut at this little structural piece here in order to lift that, I'm going to call it a saddle piece up. So we just got a shim in here holding that up. So the next thing we need to do is raise this section up. So we're going to slice it here along this edge, and we're going to lift it up and see where we get to with that. So slice and dice. Anyway, we'll make it better than it is. That's the whole objective anyway.
Yep.
So we resorted to doing some meditating and some chanting before we cut any further on the car. So yeah, this is the cutting the car up Gregorian chant. Remember Frankenstein? Okay, so we made a cut all the way along here and open this up to be able to lift this up a little bit. And we've shown you the cut here in this brace, so we've lifted this area up as well. Lifted it and pushed it, or depressed it in some other locations as well, so it's a bit of a puzzle still. Anyway, we're making progress. We're going to probably take a break for lunch and think more about this, but I think we're going the right direction anyway, so we'll get back out here after our macaroni and cheese. Yeah. Okay, here's where we're at. So we've got the Surrey back on the car. So I'm not sure if I showed you this before. So there's the gap that we're needing to fill. So we're going to try to make a right angle patch that comes over and down. We've got this obviously propped up here at the front as well. So basically we're needing to fill this area all the way to the back, right? And then we decided, I think, in order to fix the bottom of the fender, unfortunately, without cutting the bottom of the fender and taking about an 1/8 of an inch out or so, we're not going to be able to fit this to the bottom sill very well. So I think we're going to resort to end up cutting the bottom of the fender off and re-welding that. But that's okay. I'm okay with that as long as it's fitting to the bottom of the sill better. So anyway, we're going to work on this top part first and get that all tacked up and fitting well, and then we'll worry about everything else. Another quick update for you. So we've got the piece tacked where we want it, just with some metal rod, and we've actually cut this a little bit larger, this area, and we've got a patch made for it that's going to go in here as a filler piece, something like that, all the way along. So I think that's looking not too bad. So we're just about to tack that in. And I think that should fix that area, at least for now. And then we'll continue on. Just coming up to 5 o'clock, or just past 5 o'clock, and we're going to call it a day. But we've got this looking pretty darn good. We've got this all tacked in along here, and it's much better than it was. We've got a really nice line on the fender as well. So yeah, still need some welding repairs on the inside here. But we've been playing around with the Surrey top and putting it on and off, and we think we can do a little bit better with the fit on this side. It's still a little bit high versus the driver's side, so we'll play around with that. I think we're going to come back and play out in the garage tomorrow a little bit. So we'll continue on, and we'll maybe trim the fender up on the bottom. Maybe we'll work on the rear of the around the taillights where the fender's a little bit long. We might just extend those out on both sides. And what else do we need to do? Drink beer?
Drink beer.
Drink beer. All right, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching.